President Obama on his way to providing instant internet access to 99% of America's children. Is that a good thing? And the Guttmacher Institute says that the rate of abortions in America is dropping. So now there's a big debate as to why. We're going to look at these things. This is an intense episode, I promise you. But you've grown to expect it because this is the voice of resistance.
Standing for truth in the four corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. Randall Terry.
President Obama is praising the fact that his administration recently successfully challenged, a bunch of big businesses to pony up money and hardware so that within the next 4 years, 99% of all American children will have access to high-speed internet. That's his goal. And they're telling us that we need this because it will help with our children's education. Apple has said that they will donate $100 million worth of laptops and iPads. Verizon and AT&T are both saying that they'll pony up $100 million each for various broadband services. Microsoft said that they would commit, I think, 12,000 Microsoft Office programs. Big business saying, we're behind you, Mr. President. We'll help you get high-speed internet into the hands of 99% of America's children. Is it a good idea? Will it help our children? If you'll stay with me, I'm going to make the case that this might not be in the best interest of a child. The internet is a tool, all right? It is not grammar, logic, and rhetoric on any given subject, all right? Not on reading, not on reading comprehension. It doesn't give the grammar, logic, and rhetoric of music or how to play a musical instrument. It certainly doesn't help with penmanship. And it would do very little to help with hands-on science, learning how things work, how they can be altered. Now, a tool, it is a tool though. The internet is a tool. And I speak as somebody who has a bachelor's degree from the State University of New York that I got online and a master's degree that I got online from Norwich University in diplomacy and international terrorism. My bachelor's is in communications. So as a tool, it exists and can be used for knowledge. But a well-educated person can use a tool, but the tool itself is not an education and does not guarantee by any stretch of the imagination that it is the means to an education. The tool in any scenario should be age appropriate, wisdom appropriate, experience appropriate. Now, using the hammer as an illustration, what tool do we give to our children when they're small? In fact, let's just talk about hammers. I remember as a child having that little plastic hammer. It was hollow. Could swing it around, and if it hit me or somebody in the head, it wasn't going to cause any real serious injury. Unless it was one of those cheap ones where the mold of the plastic had little sharp edges on it, then it might cut someone. But you had the plastic hammer, and then you had that block thing where you could pound in the pegs with a little wooden hammer, pounding the little wooden pegs through the little wooden block. All right, again, age appropriate. And then maybe you graduated, I mean, I know I did, to a little 6 or 7 inch hammer that actually had a wooden handle and a small metal head and could be used to pound in a thumbtack, basically. Now, again, age appropriate. But who would give a child a jackhammer? Or one of those hammers that they use to drive the pylons of bridges into the ocean floor? I want to, again, give the devil his due regarding, let's say that there's a teacher in a classroom setting who wants to show a chart or a graph or an aerial photo of a country, wants to bring up statistics and project them on the wall. It's certainly more time efficient than having somebody run down the hallway 20 times to get something or to have everyone crowd around a little book. So there is some benefit to it. But the question that we're going to focus on is it worth the trade-off? You could argue that a 10-year-old boy can in fact use a jackhammer. It's possible. But if it gets out of control and it cuts off his foot, is it worth the trade-off? My wife and I, for 5 years, have been grinding our own wheat and baking our own bread from scratch. Within 2 hours, you can have fresh wheat in your hand and then piping hot bread come out of the oven. The most nutritious and delicious bread you will ever have. And we do it for under $1 a loaf. Call Paula's Bread and find out about this grain mill and the mixer and how it can save you money and change your life. Teddy Roosevelt said this: "The thought of modern industry in the hands of Christian charity is a dream worth dreaming. The thought of industry in the hands of paganism is a nightmare beyond imagining. The choice between the two is upon us." And that was before, long before, the internet. President Obama says that having high-speed internet in the hands of children everywhere in the country is going to be a help to them. This from the man who says that Beyonce is a good role model. Well, I want you to remember that, speaking of Teddy Roosevelt, when he was a child, he had childhood asthma. And at that time, cigar smoke was prescribed by doctors as an aid to fighting asthma. They were literally blowing cigar smoke at people with asthma. They filled Teddy Roosevelt's room with cigar smoke while he was having an asthma attack, thinking that it would help him to have cigar smoke in the room. His mom and dad, who loved him and wanted the best for him, shut the doors to his room, and his dad fired up a big stogie and blew the smoke in the room. Well, now we know it wasn't helping him. What are we going to find out about the internet? What are we going to find out about accessibility? All right, having this tool, this jackhammer, this scalpel, this lightsaber in the hands of small children. Now, think with me, if you will. Children well, there's a passage in the Bible that says, "It is bound up in the heart of a child to do folly." All right? We have to teach our children how to not be barbarians. You know, if a child is left to themselves, what will they do? They will jump on the couch. A child will walk through the house with muddy boots. A child will swing a sharp item around and a chain and hit his brother or his sister in the face with the chain that's used to hang a hanging plant. We speak from experience, right? What else will they do? They'll put vegetables in their nose. They'll put a pea in their ear and then have to go to the doctor to have it removed. or a pee up their nose. We've seen the stories. Some of us have had these very experiences. All right? Sitting in the doctor's office, trying desperately for the doctor to be able to get the tweezers around the chickpea to get it out of the ear. Well, that's what little kids do. And what do older children do? Well, they up the ante of craziness. They're not putting peas and beans in their nose or ears anymore. They're taking their mom and dad's car when mom and dad are out and driving it, maybe hurting themselves or someone else or property. And now what are they doing? Well, there is a frightening number of young women, for example, teenage girls, who are taking pictures of themselves naked or partially naked, or even involved in immoral acts, and they're sending them to their friends. Because the device, because the tool, because the jackhammer, the lightsaber, whatever you want to call it, is in their hand. Because they don't have the wisdom, they don't have the self-control to have it in their possession. I mean, you think about it. When we were kids in school, I remember being taught how to carry scissors. You remember that? Hold them, hold the blades, hold them down while you're walking so that if you fall, it doesn't knife you. And those were blunt scissors. And now we're going to put something in kids' hands that can be used by predators. I mean, think of what's on the internet right now. If a boy or a girl goes to get an NFL score or a girl's basketball score, a boy is 2 clicks away from soft porn just by checking the NFL scores because of the swimsuit edition from Sports Illustrated. And there's something inherently dangerous about the speed of the item and the accessibility, instant accessibility to behaviors and to images and to contacts with people that are a threat to our child's welfare and are not going to help them become more educated. Do you want to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment? If so, you have to read good books on theology, history, books that look at the lives of great men and women. So to help you to become a more effective Christian, a better witness for truth, somebody who can engage in productive conversation that exhorts and edifies those that you speak with, we're going to do something crazy. We're offering you these 7 books for a gift of any size. You just pay for the shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift that you can, and we will send them to you. But just to make it a little bit more crazy, I will send you a second copy of my 3 books, autographed. You can give them as a gift to your pastor or to a family member and help extend truth and justice in the world. This is while supplies last.
Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. For the Father up above is looking down in love.
That childhood song, a delightful little song, speaks to us about catechizing, discipling, training up our children in the way that they should go, and what is a danger to them. It used to be that parents, in fact it still is, that parents go to great pains to keep their children away from bad neighborhoods, to keep their children away from bad people, to keep their children away from bad influences, right? If you've got children or grandchildren, isn't that a concern of yours? Well, now those bad neighborhoods, those bad people, they're just a click away. They're just a click away. And to strive to get into the hands of young people, 99% of small children, the clicking ability, excuse me, the ability to click their way into a neighborhood that can literally destroy their soul, mar them for the rest of their lives. Is this something that will help our children be more educated? There's a maxim in film that my great producer Lane told me, that accessibility leads to acceptability. It's a maxim in film. So the more something is accessible, the more that it's out there, the more that it becomes acceptable to the general public. The hit television series Maude, which was launched by Norman Lear, I believe in 1971, was groundbreaking because it used comedy and a woman on her fourth marriage to talk about killing babies by abortion and to talk about always voting for Democrats and other liberal causes and issues of the day. It was accessible, and she helped blaze a trail to make it acceptable, including 2 episodes in which she and her husband opted to kill their baby by abortion. All right, just wearing down the conscience. And we're in an era right now where the Christian ethic does not dominate the culture at large anymore. It just doesn't. And even though a majority of Americans are baptized Christians, about 74-75%, all right, the Christian ethic, the Judeo-Christian ethic of the Old and New Testament, what was part and parcel for this foundation, the foundation of this republic, it's not the dominating premise of how we behave anymore. John Adams said that our Constitution is wholly inadequate for a people to govern themselves unless they're a religious people. I'm paraphrasing, you can see what's on the screen. But he understood that a religious people, people that fear God and love their neighbor as themselves, that's who can govern themselves, practice self-government with our form of government, with our Constitution. But as the Christian ethic has been mocked by shows like Maude, and by the media elite, and by the Hollywood elite, and by some of our political elite, and we have shrunk back, that which has dominated the airwaves with accessibility is now what's acceptable. And I want to ask you a question. Why are we here? Why are we here on this planet? This planet is not our home. We're on our way somewhere to the next life. We're here to see if we seek and find God, to find His forgiveness, if we love our neighbor as ourselves. And then think about the advent of these devices. I'm asking you, how have these devices, high-speed internet, all these things, how much have they made your life richer? How have they helped your relationship with your immediate family? How have they helped in your relationships with friends? And I know that there are people who think Facebook is a great way to stay in touch, all right? But I don't know about a Bible verse that says, "Blessed is she who posts 3 times a day on Facebook, for she shall be called a social butterfly." I don't think so. It's a precision tool. I will grant you that. I will grant you that it's like having a university library at your disposal where you don't have to go up and down aisles. But is it worth the trade? Does it lead someone to reach out to their neighbor? Or does it create an alternate universe and numb the senses and numb the soul and have people addicted to a world of clicking and clicking and clicking and clicking, walking out of a movie theater and tapping their phone rather than laughing with the people that are with them? There's something insidious, friend, about Obama's agenda to have these devices in the hands of every child in America. And it might be that, or 99% of children, it might be that that 1% that doesn't have access is going to fare better. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. Abortion is back in the news, this time because the Alan Guttmacher Institute, which is a wing of Planned Parenthood, has released a study that shows that the rate of children being killed in America is dropping. It's dropping to the lowest point since Roe versus Wade. 19 out of every 1,000 women will kill their child by abortion in any given year. And that number has a fierce debate breaking out. Number one, why is the number going down? And number two, should we be happy or glad about this? I want to make a couple of observations. Number one, all of us should be glad when the number of children being aborted goes down. All right? We want the number, however, to go down to 0. And if I were to ask you in a kind of a question-answer format, what is the purpose of the pro-life movement? Or what is the goal of the pro-life movement? Question mark. The proper answer, think about it, what is it? The answer is to restore the full protection of law to every human being from conception until birth. That's it. To restore the full protection of law to every human being from conception till birth. Now, as I've read over all these news reports, you have certain pro-life groups that are praising this as a great step forward toward victory, but the data that they've accumulated is prior to some of the more restrictive laws that have been put in place in the Dakotas, in Texas, and other states. So Guttmacher is saying it doesn't appear that any recent laws had any effect. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. I think I smell a rat there. I think that some of these laws will in fact cause the number of children dying by abortion to go down. And there is enough data to show that in states that have parental notification laws, you have to tell your mom and dad if you're a minor, if you're going to have an abortion. The number of children dying by abortion in those states has dropped by 50%. But it's still not the goal. So we have to be careful how much we praise news of this caliber. Next, there are some blistering things coming out of the Los Angeles Times and other online publications saying that this drop in the number of abortions should be credited to the liberals, to the people who are pro-choice, because we're the ones who want teenage girls and boys to have contraception. So they're saying, hey, this shows that what we've been saying all along is great. Give birth control out to kids in junior high school and in high school, because we all know that they're going to have sex anyway, and might as well teach them how to use birth control properly so that they're not ending up having an abortion. Well, these might be the same people that want every child to have access to the internet when they're small. See, there are some things that are just not appropriate. Who grows up? What parent grows up and says, I want my 16-year-old girl to be on the pill? I want my 16-year-old boy to be a predator of other 16-year-old girls. Many of us have made mistakes in our past that we regret. But how many of us grow up, have children, and then say, I hope my kid makes those mistakes too, and I'm going to give them birth control and online access so that they can duplicate my folly.